Hi, this is Dr. Odell from Back to Health, the Back to Health podcast. Today I have our guest Ted Hahn, clinical nutritionist, big brain bro. What is your background? Tell me, what's your background?
I first got interested in health and how the body works when I was about 15 or 16 years old, because I was getting into weightlifting, and I found that with proper nutrition you can make a lot better progress and gains than if you just ate Big Macs. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. So that led me into a broader study of nutrition, and then I ended up going to work for a well-known Southern California nutritional company that's now global, and I'm going to leave their name politely out of this conversation because I don't work for them anymore, but that's what got me started.
But I did a lot of work with them originally when I had a functional medicine practice down the hill, and so yeah, I know. I think we all got to start somewhere, man.
Well, let me give you a little story that tells you very quickly and succinctly why I made the change to standard process. I went to this company's production facilities, and they gave me a tour of their warehouse, and it was, just rows and rows of 55-gallon plastic drums filled with white crystalline powder. And so as I was walking by these big barrels of white crystalline powder, I said, well, what is this?
Are we in Colombia?
No, I mean, that's what you would have thought, crystal meth, cocaine. No, they said, well, that's our vitamin C. I said, odd, picture vitamin C looking like that. But all the subsequent barrels we looked into were basically full of very similar compounds, granulated compounds that got compressed into tablets or put into capsules. And so I just shrugged my shoulders, being naive at the time, and I thought, well, I guess that's just what vitamins look like before they press them into tablets or encapsulate them. So I'm going to fast forward 10 years. I was in clinical practice for a couple of years when Standard Process approached me, and they said, we would like you to see how we do nutrition. I said, okay. So the gentleman that talked to me actually paid to have me fly back to their farm, which is a whole new concept for me.
Mind-blowing, right?
It was. You get off the tour bus and start walking around the farm, you can smell the dirt before you get off the bus. It's just this rich, deep, loamy smell, and you just want to go roll on the beet fields. So what I saw was a truck pulling beets out of the ground that were, the size of cantaloupes, loaded onto a truck with a conveyor belt, and they took it a couple miles down the road to the processing plant where the beets were crushed, juiced, and then compressed into tablets without heat, solvent, chemicals, any of that, in a low temperature environment, so the enzymatic properties weren't destroyed. And then that stuff went out that week to doctors. And I realized at that point, this stuff is alive enzymatically, just like a head of cabbage you would buy at a farmer's market. And then I realized, okay, everything I thought I knew about nutrition, got to dump it all and start all over again.
And I got to tell you, clinically, it doesn't work the same. And not that I'm opposed to nutraceuticals, because I use them sometimes, and sometimes it's like a big hammer for sure. But our bodies aren't designed to process that kind of stuff.
No, and if you would have had that conversation with a doctor in the 50s and say, "Hey, doc, I'm thinking of taking vitamins," they would have laughed and said, "You get vitamins from your food, silly. You don't need to take all these pills and potions."
Yeah,
that was true in the 1950s. It's not true now.
I know.
Food kills us now.
Awesome. Yeah. And me, clinically, I started out kind of in the same, functional medicine. I was a blandite, went to a million seminars, and you get the seminar notes, and they were about this thick. Yeah. It was like, oh my God.
And you needed a translator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But Standard Process has been around for how long?
Almost 100 years. I think we're at 95 or 96 years at this point. Please don't ask me to do math on camera.
Yeah.
I'm good. I like to speak, but math, no.
But those guys were brilliant.
Since 1929.
I mean, and it's not easy, because it's like apples and oranges. It's not like, like patients like, oh, I just need some vitamin C, or I need, B, and and I know the names are a little bit different, because it's these formulations, and I have a lot of their old books too, and you're reading this stuff, and this is what they used across the board for endocrine problems, and everything that you would need, and then you tap into that, and then for me there's always these little things of go to that and just take it, and they're like, what's in this? I'm like, just trust me.
Why is there porcine duodenum in my tablets?
Right.
Oh.
But that's what they used back there for, you know, they didn't have, you know, hormone replacement therapy. That's where they got it from, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, in generations past, we used to eat a lot more organ meats, and that's really where the nutrition in meat is. It's not necessarily in muscle meat.
Yeah.
You don't get the same spread of vitamins and minerals and other synergistic cofactors in muscle meat that you do in liver or kidney or, you know, sweetbreads, other organ meats. And so when Dr. Lee incorporated those into the products, one thing that was really interesting is he made a statement, and I've never forgotten this because it made more sense to me than anything I've ever heard. He said, the great majority of disease states that humans find themselves in are a result of organ system dysfunction that comes about because those organs aren't getting all the nutrients they need to assist their day-to-day functionality. So when they start malfunctioning because they're not getting the nutrients they need to operate properly, then, you know, this is your various disease states that we suffer from. And really it's, a lot of it is organ and tissue system dysfunction because we're not feeding the body what it actually needs to operate on a day-to-day basis. So basically what he said in simple language was all of these things are deficiency based.
And I love, you know, with Chinese medicine, whatever ails you, eat liver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think we keep going on this a little bit. I know that we are also going to sit down and talk about allergies a little bit. I hope. Because I love the way this all got started in the first place. Like, you know, you come in here and I'm like, woohoo, Ted's here. Let's sit down and, you know, have a conversation of what's going on. And then, you know, I'm like, this is great. Like, we should record this. And so
Here we are.
Here we are. Let's record it. So, yeah. So, yeah, standard process has been amazing. And then, of course, I'm kind of a big fan of the herb line, too, with the
Yeah, the
Mediherb.
Mediherb, yes.
Because that's different, too. Like, people don't know. Like, those herbs are like, you know, first of all, Carrie Bone is just a rock star of a herbalist, you know, that designs a lot of these things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, so you tell me those I know that when I give that, when I give an herb, it's the therapeutic dose is on the bottle. Like, I don't, you know, patients, like if they go down to the health food store and they're taking something, like it says 2 but take 20, right? So it ends up being cheaper for people, for one.
Absolutely. And they look at the face value of the product and go, wow, this is really expensive. Well, it's not expensive for something that works. And,
Yeah.
and there's a reason behind that. You know, in the American herbal industry, the problem is that they're not very specific as to what part of the plant anatomy they use. So for instance, if you're taking an echinacea product, the active ingredient that has all the immune benefiting effects is a compound called alkylamides. Well, the alkylamides aren't found throughout the plant. They're not in the leaves, they're not in the flowers, they're not in the stems, they're only in the roots. So if you're taking an echinacea product that is not a root-based product, you're not going to get the immune modulating effects you're looking for. But in the United States, you can harvest echinacea, cut up all the stems and leaves or flowers, throw them into a bottle, freeze dry it, throw it into a capsule and bottle it and call it echinacea. Is it echinacea? Legally, yes. Is it going to benefit you? No. Wrong part of the plant anatomy. It's only in the roots that we find the benefits. And there's lots of circumstances like that. And I love Mediherb because that obsession with quality, you know, not just bioactive levels of the active ingredient, but right plant anatomy. Plant has to come from the right place.
Right.
As a, for instance, like with tribulus, everyone likes to take tribulus for libido and strength gains and as a testosterone booster, but if you don't get it from Eastern Europe, which is on, you know, the current list of places Putin might blow up, which makes it risky to get it, it doesn't have bioactive levels of the proper compound in it, which is protodiosine. You only get bioactive levels of that compound in dirt from Eastern Europe, you know, Yugoslavia, Slovakia, places like
That's
that.
the whole plant hormesis thing, right? Like, if you get something, you know, ginseng, like if it's grown in a really harsh environment in the Himalayas, it's going to be a lot more potent than me growing it in my backyard, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because the things that make it potent are biochemistry the plant creates to survive in a harsh environment. And just like the tribulus, there's something in the soil of Eastern Europe that elevates the levels of protodiosine. And we tried it from Australia, from Canada, from the United States, all these different places. None of it matched up.
That's why the people over there are so hardy.
Yeah, might have a lot to do with it. And the thing about Medium is that if they can't source it from the right place, they won't make it.
Yeah.
Because they already know it's no good from any place else.
I've noticed that sometimes.